After what feels like an eternity, Kingdom Hearts 3, which is technically the 12th or 13th entry in the series, I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, has finally launched. Strangely, before I got my hands on it, I was somewhat apprehensive about this title, wondering if it would ever live up to the hype. This has in large part to do with the fact that, and don't kill me for saying this, I didn't enjoy Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2 as much as I would have liked to. Don't get me wrong, there's an undeniable charm to the whole concept of a Disney Square Enix crossover that kept me going, but at the same time, these games really didn't age well, and seeing as how I only started playing the Kingdom Hearts series late last year to catch up before the release of the third mainline entry, I don't have that nostalgia factor to bolster my enjoyment. I feel like I would have absolutely loved these games had I played them when they launched way back when, but playing them now the flaws were too apparent, even in the updated HD releases. To be perfectly blunt, I didn't really like the first game, which felt very primitive and clumsy all around. Then I played Chain of Memories, which I actually enjoyed the most because it actually felt like I had to put some thought into how I approach combat, though I know this may not be the most popular opinion. Then I played Kingdom Hearts 2, which I liked more than 1 due to its improved combat system, but still felt like I had to force myself to finish it due to the repetitive nature of the game. And then I started Birth by Sleep before I realized I wouldn't be able to finish it in time, at which point I just checked out story summary videos for the entire series. This finally brings me to Kingdom Hearts 3, a game that from trailers and footage looked undeniably gorgeous, but I wondered how much the gameplay and level design would evolve. Turns out quite a lot, as I found myself not just liking Kingdom Hearts 3, turns out I'm wholeheartedly loving this game. It is simply put leaps and bounds beyond what past entries I've played accomplished and had to offer. What's impressed me most about Kingdom Hearts 3 so far is how much richer and lived in the game's various worlds look and feel. In past games, I've always felt like the worlds were very bland, empty, and artificial looking, reminiscent of half-finished sets with a handful of iconic landmarks from the Disney movies thrown in there. I'm sure this had in large part to do with some of the technical limitations from back in the day, but that doesn't change the fact that level design aged rather poorly, and it was hard for me to perceive the worlds of past Kingdom Hearts games that I've played as immersive locales. It's a whole different story with Kingdom Hearts 3 though, whose worlds are a massive improvement both in terms of their visual and gameplay design. For example, I was genuinely blown away by the Toy Story world and how beautifully the game brought Andy's room as well as the giant toy store to life. There's just so much attention to detail in the placement of objects and props that breathe life into the setting, and as I traversed through it all, I really felt myself being there. The world felt authentic and like the real deal rather than some cheap imitation of the source material. Same thing could be said for the Tangled world and its beautiful vistas and landscapes decorated with all manner of flora and fauna, with a bustling town area being the cherry on top. There's also Mount Olympus, an epic vertical trek that eventually brings you to this wonderfully realized realm of the gods, which is truly a sight to behold. I could go on, but the short of it is that I simply cannot overstate how well designed and how much more detailed the worlds are in this game compared to past entries, and I feel like I've only scratched the surface 10 hours in. Every single one of these worlds are one way or another gorgeous, lifelike in their resemblance to the work they drew from, much more expansive in scope, and there are just so many fun ideas that they play around with. The game's presentation is further enhanced by the dramatic improvements in the way cutscenes are shown. I've always found cutscenes in past games to be very stiff and awkwardly directed due to oddly paced dialogue, awkward cinematography, and overall primitive direction, but the scenes in Kingdom Hearts 3 are legit. The music, the performances, the dialogue, the impeccable animations and character models for the myriad Disney characters who feel like they were pulled straight out of the movies. All of these elements come together and contribute to create some truly delightful and at times even emotional sequences on a level that older games could not achieve. There's just a degree of technical and artistic finesse to Kingdom Hearts 3's presentation that I felt was sorely lacking in past games, which made it more difficult for me to care about what was happening in those games. But in the latest entry, I actually found myself consistently drawn and invested in the characters and the various storylines because they feel that much more lifelike. The team really took advantage of the graphical fidelity offered by current generation consoles and just ran with it, with the end result being that Kingdom Hearts finally looks and feels as developers had always intended it. Presentation aside, gameplay has also seen some very welcome improvements and additions that make it exponentially more fun than past games. I love all the various transformations and ultimate moves that they added to the game, whether it be the epic attacks themed after various Disney rides or the myriad of unique transformations and finishers that the numerous Keyblades you obtain offer, all of which can be stringed together in a wide variety of ways. All hell seems to break loose in every battle like a constant display of fantastical fireworks, way more so than past games, and it's both a lot of fun and pure eye candy. And because you keep unlocking new Keyblades, moves, and abilities as you level up, combat never grows too stale, unlike in past games where progression didn't feel quite as substantial. As an example, I found that combat felt fresh all over again when I obtained the Toy Story World's Keyblade that transforms into a giant hammer and then into a giant friggin' drill, which are both a whole lot of fun and empowering to use, and which I use to great effect in the Monsters, Inc. world. Magic also feels useful and more intuitive to use in this game, which I never found to be the case in past games, so I'm actually employing magic a lot more this time, and that adds a whole other layer to combat, which is another big plus. Now, it's impossible to talk about combat without bringing up Kingdom Hearts 3's boss battles, which are more epic in scope and feel far more involved than in previous entries. Battling the Titans in Mount Olympus felt a bit like playing a PG-rated God of War, Greek mythology and all. Fighting the flying monster looming over Rapunzel's tower was pretty cool. I love the visual flair of all the toys flying around in the fight against the Toy Story World boss, and I'm sure I haven't even seen the half of it with all the other worlds and bosses awaiting me. Boss battles from older games have always felt somewhat basic for me, save for the occasional challenging encounter, so seeing how much further they've extrapolated them in Kingdom Hearts 3 and how much more creative they've gotten is pretty great. What more is there to say? Kingdom Hearts 3's hack and slash combat is just plain old unadulterated fun. Its core mechanics are generally improved, more intuitive, and more creative. The flashy new moves that can be chained one after another are a very welcome addition, and there's just an ease of joy that comes with playing this game. There's a good balance of giving you a power fantasy while still being involved enough where you have to pay a bit of attention. This is no Devil May Cry or Bayonetta, mind you. It doesn't have that level of depth, tightness, and impact, but there is enough there to keep you hooked while still being very accessible. All in all, Kingdom Hearts 3 just went above and beyond my expectations in so many surprising ways. As someone who thought I'd sort of just have a decent time with it, given I didn't fall in love with older titles, I was pleasantly surprised to find that the newest entry just sank its teeth in me almost immediately and never let go. I've always been able to glimpse the potential that Kingdom Hearts had, but I felt like past games could never quite reach it. But this third entry, I can safely say, fully realizes the potential of what's arguably one of the most beloved series in gaming. My one major complaint would be that there is still a sense of repetition there. You go from point A to point B, beat up some Heartless, nobody, unversed or whatever, and you rinse and repeat. That repetition really wore me down in past games, but this time, because I actually look forward to every cutscene, to inhabiting and beholding the next world, to the next boss battles that may be thrown my way, and because I'm always looking forward to the next thing, there is a constant forward momentum that makes the repetition much more inconsequential. Now, as far as story goes, yeah, it's still just a bunch of tangled nonsense that I won't even try to make sense out of. Listen to this shit.
Ansem the Wise took the stranger in, but that was a mistake. Xehanort betrayed his master, stole his research, and along with his fellow apprentices, separated his heart from his body. Xehanort's heart took his master's name, Ansem, and traveled to the past to give his younger self instructions. He even briefly had control of you. His empty body stayed in the present, took the name Xemnas, and founded Organization 13. Their goal was to prepare 13 vessels for Xehanort's heart.
But all the while, young Xehanort had been visiting the future to choose 13 vessels of his own. Hearts with strong enough ties to him to begin a new organization. The real Organization 13.
Now, a hardcore Kingdom Hearts fan will look at this and go, yeah, what's so hard to understand? But stuff like this will leave more casual fans of the series, like myself, scratching their heads a little bit. All I know is that there is like a bunch of Soras and a bunch of Ansems and Xehanorts and vessels that I don't know, some stuff. The game does do its best to recap and explain some of the past events in the series here and there, but to most people, a lot of the story will sound like complete nonsense, in large part because the core narrative of the Kingdom Hearts series has always centered so much around all of these abstract concepts like hearts and darkness and whatnot. Interestingly, whereas in past Kingdom Hearts games I cared more about the main story, as I felt the Disney stuff was too rough around the edges, and the core story was easier to follow until Kingdom Hearts 2 threw a bit of a wrench in that. It's the other way around with Kingdom Hearts 3, where the fidelity of the Disney stuff has improved so much, while the main story has grown into this bizarre monstrosity whose complexity I can't help but chuckle at sometimes. I'm only 10 hours into the game though, so who knows, maybe the core story will grow on me as I keep trekking on, and as I keep peeling back the layers upon layers of story elements that Kingdom Hearts 3 has to wrap up. Plus, if I need a refresher, I could always check out the series of videos that recap the events of past core games, which are pretty convenient and can be accessed in the main menu. One more thing, the music is phenomenal as always, which should hardly come as a surprise to anyone, but still worth highlighting. The soundtrack of Kingdom Hearts 3, comprised of Disney movie themes and original Kingdom Hearts themes, is simply wonderful and goes a long way in selling the magic. So with all said and done, Kingdom Hearts 3 is a stellar labor of love, magical in many regards, and it deserves all the acclaim it's received. It was a long and arduous journey for both hard-working developers and patient fans of the series to finally see this game be completed, but from the tens of hours I've played thus far, I would say that the wait's been worth it, and I can't wait to dive back in and explore the remaining worlds. Anyway, that's it for my impressions of Kingdom Hearts 3. Thank you for tuning in. If you've played the game, let us know in the comments below what your impressions are of this title, and to be further updated on all things gaming news, reviews, and discussions, stay tuned right here on Young Yeah. I'll see you guys next time. Young out.